And where's Danielle? Please welcome to the stage Danielle Harris and Mr. James Winburn. Take this one, it's a little bit louder. You can sit down, you can stand, whatever you like. So take this one.
Stand over there.
I'll narrate for you if you want me to. It won't be much longer. We have another microphone. Do we have another microphone? Can we, or do you want to?
Yeah, we have the second one.
Pass it back.
The second one?
You grab a chair for me.
Here, to get this out of the way. Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Jim Winburn. Come on, guys, come on out in. So maybe you got some questions you want to ask about Halloween, the original Halloween, John Carpenter, Deborah Hill, which we did in 1978 in Hollywood, South Pasadena, and area, and then we led to other things as we grow older. But anyway, one of the things I want to tell you is why I played this, is that I belong to the Stuntman Association of Motion Picture and Television for over 45 years. I was trained by all professional people that are all gone, that played movies and westerns and all the stuff that you've seen since you were born. And they were my mentor, and they led me to a great career in film, television, commercials, industrial. Plus I direct all the Batman live shows at the theme parks of Six Flags all around the world, China, Italy, and I do a stage Beyond Sundown, Tecumseh in Ohio, which are outdoor drama. But the thing that, out of all the stuff I did, Halloween ends up being 35 years of everybody still frightened about that show. Because most of you people that are sitting in the audience saw it when you were 5 years old, or 6 years old, or maybe 89 years old, I don't know. But the question is that it stayed with you. Now, why did it stay with you? It stayed with you because John Carpenter and Deborah Hill had an idea. And the idea was of showing young teenagers on a Halloween night with a psychopath brother of Jamie Lee Curtis. And how this guy portrayed. And they only wanted to show you a bit when the kid was 9 years old or 6 years old. And as he grew up, he became more psychopathic and he ended up into a sanitarium. When he got into the sanitarium, which they don't really show you what he really did in there because he was isolated because he was a murderer. They knew he was going to kill no matter what. But John Carpenter had an idea, and the idea with Deborah Hill was to show you how psychological will affect, not terrible like Ron Zombie, showing you brutality and cutting for 5 minutes of a guard, to the music of Ron Zombie, of the violence with knife and that. But what they did was shadows like Alfred Hitchcock. You know that somebody's behind the door, he leads you up, and et cetera, and now she's going to explain this for the next half hour.
I'm good, I got it. Have a seat. Hi guys. How are you?
So Danielle, tell us a little bit about your experience with the Halloween franchise.
Well, I have, two very different experiences. I'm part of the original, Halloween 4 and 5, so I was there for the old school, the late 80s, early 90s, and then I also did Rob Zombie's 1 and 2. So I was able to swing back and forth and see both. And I personally am a bigger fan of the older ones, 4 over 5 of the ones that I've been in, the original being the best. And I like Rob Zombie's 1 better than 2, in my opinion. My experience, I had a great experience, actually. I didn't have nightmares, I wasn't really tormented by him. The men that play Michael Myers are, they wouldn't want me to say this, but are very nice men, and made sure that I wasn't traumatized as a child. I mean, I'm a little messed up because of it, but I don't know if it's because of the Halloween movies. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm sure you guys know more about the franchise than I even probably do. So maybe open it up to some questions, if you guys have any questions for us.
Of the two different franchises that you were involved in, which was more difficult for you as an actor to sort of find your way through?
Well, I think the newer ones were harder for me because, and I didn't understand why it was hard for me. I was sort of taking home a lot of that with me emotionally, and I think it's because in 4 and 5, Michael never got me. I ran a lot and he chased me a lot, but he never actually got anywhere too close to me. He never laid his hands on me. So cut to Rob Zombie's movies, and I got beat up pretty bad in both of those. So that was, I didn't understand why it was hard for me to shake it off, and that was why I think it was a little bit harder. We had, in Rob Zombie's, the first one I think my fight scene with him was about 4 days of shooting, so at the end of the day I was just wrecked, yeah. But I was exhausted, but as a kid, everything's fun. You're like on a fake roof, but it's actually 18 feet in the air. You're running in front of a moving car. You're like, I was shoved in a laundry chute, as real knights were going in with no harness. Like a lot of stuff back in the day that just didn't really think about that kind of stuff, and I was sort of willing to do anything as a kid because you just want to make everybody happy. And as an adult, looking back on it, I can't believe that I did some of the stuff that I did. I wouldn't do it as an adult, that's for sure.
And Halloween 1 scared the crap out of me to this day. For everything you said, the idea that it was more psychological than in your face.
Did you have toilet paper?
I did lots and lots and lots of it.
On the same subject she talked about, I only did I was brought in to do the original, okay, and I'll get to you. And that was only $300,000. Donald Pleasant got 10 grand for 1 week. And which was where we shot most of his stuff was at Orange Grove Avenue, which is just above Sunset Boulevard, where he shot me over the railing and I fell, which is a classic little fall. But the rest of it was shot up in Altadena, Pasadena area, on the street, and where he's walking and it's in the shadow. Now, her last show that she did with who directed that? I forgot.
Which one, Rob Zombie?
Yeah, was way over $1 million, almost $2-3 million.
It's 20 million.
20 million. See that? Now he did the music, so he incorporated the music, which he always does. But his volume is violence, violent. Everything
I don't think he actually had any of his own songs in the movie, and he didn't do the score.
Tyler Mann and I did a show one time together, and Tyler said to me, I still dream I'm still cutting the head off the guard. Because it was violent to the music of death. When people watched it, we did the opening at Grumman's Chinese. Ron Zombie called me and asked me to do the opening and walk the red carpet. And we went out on Sunset Boulevard. The average question was, what they saw in the preview, why was it more violent than what John Carpenter's original classic one? And my question to them was, Ron Zombie made me look like a wimp. Because Carpenter likes psychological stuff. He wants you to mind trip of the violence of that period of time. Ron Zombie is a different type of producer, director, and writer. And his music is very violent and towards direction. But it's two different people who did two different types of show. It's very successful, and Tyler is a sweetheart, as you know. And even though he was making a joke about it, it was more violent than what Michael Myers seen on screen. It was the implying what he did after the fact with what John Carpenter wanted to do, the shadows of Alfred Hitchcock and all that stuff. And that's filmmaking of that period of time. Now, the audience today wants special effects. They want DGI all over the place. They want blood, gore. They want all the good, all the facts and stuff. That's the difference between today and going back 35 years. And that's when the show was shot. 35 years ago. And any question? Answer. So our question is that I worked because Deborah Hill was my AD on all the second unit stuff I shot around the country. So we were very close friends. And so every time Deborah got a show producing, and when she got John Carpenter, they brought me in because they knew I was a nose stunt guy that didn't want anybody hurt, and that I would do all the stunts because it was a low budget, and it was a one-shot thing. It never was twice, 3 times, or 4 times. And so the question is, the crew was all non-union. The only people who were DGA and union was John Carpenter and Don Barron, the production manager. There was only 6 SAG people at that time on the rest of them were waivers or trying to get a SAG contract. And so everybody was working at a low budget scale for the ultimate end of what John Carpenter made on the original. All the franchises after that, different directors, different Michael Myers, George Wilburn, Dick Warlock, Brad Brobey up in Canada, and there's Don Sharp. All these guys played a different type of Michael Myers. The supporting cast did an excellent job to what their script was, and you can see her and her subject matter. So I was a fluke, and I have to be honest with you, because I worked in the business all over the world for the last 55 years. So that's when I work one show, I don't take it home with me, I go to the next show. And what happened, this show, out of all the shows I've done, big shows, Bottrop with Peter O'Toole, doubling him for 11 years, Barry Bottrop for 22, Dennis Weaver for 10, and it goes George Hamilton for 9. And this goes on down, Dick Shine. All these guys I doubled for all these years, and the question is, out of all those films, Halloween, the classic, 35 outlives them all. So they had, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill had to do something right.
So we have a question from Danielle.
Hi. Did you feel that you should have been the curse of Michael Myers and finish off the storyline of Jamie yourself as an actress instead of the other actress? And how did Rob Zombie's film casting you come about?
Well, I signed on to do Halloween 6, and then they started changing the script. I don't know, did anyone here see Halloween 6? Anyone? It was pretty crappy. And Jamie was pregnant with Michael Myers' baby and died in the bathroom, and it ended up changing and being really weird, so I ended up not wanting to come back to do it. And I think that's great, because I feel like if I would have died in Halloween 6, if Jamie would have died, maybe I wouldn't have come back in Rob Zombie's Halloween, so I feel like maybe it was kind of a good omen. And I ended up getting cast in the other Halloweens because I went to a convention and a fan came up to me and said, I hear they're redoing the original Halloween, and I said, really? I didn't know. And they said, yeah, Rob Zombie's doing it, and you're playing Laurie. And I went, really? That's weird, because Laurie was my mom. So that would be a little messed up. I don't really get it, but sure. And I hadn't gotten a call, there were just rumors on the internet, people were just talking shit. And so I got back to LA and called my manager and agents and all that fun stuff, the business side of it, and ended up finding out that Rob actually did not want anybody from any of the other Halloween series to be in the new movie. He wanted to start over again. So I talked my way into an audition, and I went and auditioned for it like everybody else. And I think that maybe once he saw me on camera, he's still a fanboy. There was a little part of him that was like, oh, it's Jamie. Shit, all right, I'll cast her. So I kind of won them over, and Weinstein signed off, and then there you go, resurrected. I just think it's, I made that transition from child actor to adult actor, and I didn't do any genre films for 20 years. I worked a lot in other movies. I don't know if I did a bunch of action movies. I did The Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis and March for Death. I did Urban Legend. It was the only one that I did, actually, in that time span. I did a movie called Daylight with Stallone, and Mark for Death with Steven Seagal, and so I kind of started doing it. It was on Roseanne for a while, so I started doing a bunch of other things, and then had a little bit of a lull in work, and then all of a sudden Rob Zombie's movie came up, and it was ironic that the movie that started my career was the same franchise that sort of relaunched it all over again. And then just sort of came right back to the fans, which are, you know, why I've had a career my whole life. And now I've been doing a lot of genre stuff. Been picky about it, but some fun stuff.
Can we go back to you for a minute? Did I answer your question, or did I run around the story?
Me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Or her, especially her. I'd like to hear her.
I'm very sorry, but our time is limited today, and I think we're at the end. So,
Forget thinking about it.
but we have room for one more. Okay, one more question.
Any questions?
Better be a good one. Everyone's looking at you. Pressure's on.
Hi, I want to ask you, how was the work with Donald Pleasance?
Wonderful. He was really great. I mean, you guys, I was 10, so it's not like I'm hanging out with Donald, like having a bourbon. I would love to now. It's a little late, but he's a very kind man. He's a great actor. Actually, they just played Halloween 4 at a big film festival in Ireland called the Horrorthon in Dublin that I went to a few days ago, and I saw Halloween 4 in the theater on the big screen Blu-ray with 300 people, and it was the first time that I had seen that movie on the big screen since I was 10. So it was really, really cool to see it again, and just to see how amazing Don was. And you know, like I said, I am a Rob Zombie fan, but I much prefer Loomis in the older ones versus the new. The new Loomis was a little bit different, but Donald is an amazing actor and a pretty awesome guy.
So, cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Our time's up. Next up, Danielle, and James Winburn. Thank you.